And age doesn't mean that you still can't bring it in the future. That's all I got to say.
No, I hear you.
Janet, the problem with that
Tell Janet they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's because of the ageism.
Is that Steph, Clay, and Draymond are getting worse. And Kuminga, Moody, Podziemski, and Trace Jackson-Davis are getting better. So how do you figure it out with one maybe coming back a little and the other four guys getting better? And that's what the Golden State Warriors have to figure out. It's really that simple. How do you bring this team more in the middle? I mean, Steph, Clay, and Draymond need more help. They just need more help. And whether the guys on the team need to bring them more help or whether they need to go get guys to bring them more help, I think the one thing that all Warrior fans can agree on is Steph, Clay, and Draymond, if they're going to be here, they need more help. They've gotten older, right?
No doubt. And I'll say this to Janet's call. I don't feel like you're hearing that from us.
No, they are.
Well, I'm telling
pro sports has ageism.
Yeah, right. But
it's just a fact.
Yeah, but Steiny, I'm not ready to sit here and say Steph is where Dre and Clay are at. The whole thing, as excited as any Warrior fan is about the youngsters or the next tier or the next crop, we don't know. Let me tell you something, what's going to happen. Draymond Green's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So is Steph Curry, and so is Klay Thompson. We don't know if Pods, Kuminga, or Moody, and whoever else you want to put on that list, TJD, are going to, get to that plateau. So right now it's about a blend, and if you want to bring Clay back, and I understand it because you feel like there's still something to do here, you need to do what you just said. HELP, where and how you go get that, I don't know, but we got to be careful on just saying it, and I'm not saying you're saying this, the big three's done. All right, let's hit reset, and then here come the youngsters, and the youngsters may be serviceable players, but are there any superstars in that crop? And that's part of this problem is how do you maneuver and move forward not knowing the answers to those questions? Well, you got to hitch your wagon to one of them, and I'm hitching mine on what I already know works or worked, and now you need to do something. You need to polish it up. How do you do that? And you got to get an infusion of something. Do you have that something already on the roster? I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of don't understand that. Like, I get the idea that we don't know what the young players are. And, yeah, we're working with 3 Hall of Famers. But they are not at that level anymore. So don't you know what you're going to get with Steph, Dre, and Clay? And it's not going to be what it was 3 years ago. So don't you have to look at the young players because they at least have a chance to keep getting better over the next 2 or 3 years? And the more you stay reliant on the core, I'd just be worried that it holds back the young core.
Yeah.
888-957-9570 is the number. Let's get back to some of this Bobby Marks sound because he's got some good stuff that on here. The one is let's go to Bobby Marks on if the Warriors' young assets are enough to acquire a big name.
I mean, you got Podziemski, you've got Moody, and you've got draft picks. And Trace Jackson-Davis, right? Those are take Kuminga out of the equation. So what are those 3? Draft equity, and then you add that big contract there. So I certainly think so. I think that from the young player's perspective, you do. I don't think you have to put Kuminga in. I mean, it's just a matter of kind of who that player is, who's available.
So, I mean, the one thing to me is when you say Pods, Moody, and Trace Jackson-Davis, you can't be talking about one move, right? I mean, what team in the NBA would want 3 players that young, all coming in one fell swoop?
I can't think of many.
Is kind of what I'm thinking.
And I guess my question to that is, why wasn't Kuminga on that list? Because I still have him as being the most attractive asset you have.
Yeah, 888-957-9570 is the number. I'm wondering what Warrior fans think Joe Lacob's mindset is. And this is one thing that I have been given a lot of thought. too, recently. Like, what kind of owner do you think Joe Lacob is? And when I think about what kind of owner Joe Lacob is, that's when I do think, you know what, maybe Klay's not coming back. I'm starting to think Klay Thompson may not come back. Not because I'm a hater, not because I don't want him back, but because I'm trying to put myself in Joe Lacob's position. And I don't know that Klay's going to be back when I think about Joe Lacob. Okay, then I think about Jonathan Kuminga. Mm-hmm. And that's when I say, I don't think Kuminga's going anywhere. Why not, Steiny? Well, because I think Joe Lacob really likes Kuminga. He likes the idea that they drafted Kuminga at a very young age. He didn't have any experience, and now he's 3 years into his career, and he's shown that he's a pretty good player, and he's got a chance to be really good. So that's why I don't think Kuminga is going anywhere. That's why I think Klay Thompson might not be coming back. So who else does that leave? Chris Paul? I don't think Chris Paul's coming back.
Doesn't make fiscal sense.
Exactly. Okay, so then who else do we have? We have Wiggins. We have Draymond Green. Steph will obviously be back. But I want to know what Warrior fans think of what Joe Lacob wants to do, and I guess what I want to know is, Goo, like, what do you want to do?
Okay.
And then what do you think Lacob's going to do?
Okay.
888-957-9570.
And I've been thinking about this. So I have all the utmost respect for one Joe Lacob. He is Joey Lightyear, Steiny. Okay, he has brought this team from nothing into something, and you talk about how much the organization is worth, 4 parades that we are all a part of. I get it. But now, what if I were to tell you this is the first time I believe his reputation as a killer, K-I-L-L, I'm going Warren Sapp, a killer, is about to start this offseason, because I'm not mad, but I was blown away that Joe Lacob shared with Kawakami last offseason about Draymond Green and the brother, how he looked at Draymond as a brother and what he meant, all this sentimental stuff that I kind of thought, and Joe didn't do anything wrong, I kind of thought Joey Lightyear's the machine, the killer, would look past, and it got Draymond Green a contract 4 more years for $100. So now that leads me to believe, Steiny, I hear you, because it's on the table, how much hardball they're going to play with Klay Thompson. And again, it takes 2 to tango. Klay could want to leave, and then the Warriors could say, hey, we wanted him back. He chose to go elsewhere. But I guess I'm getting goosebumps to see the answer to your question about how much of what they've built means what right now after a year. Your team did not qualify for the playoffs, and you're sitting here with almost a $400 million payroll. Like, at some point now, we're going to find out what means what to him, and there's no wrong answer. But if I'm running this business and we didn't make the playoffs and my bill is the most in the league in history, then there's got to be some uncomfortable decisions to be made, and you just want to find out, Steiny, when or if that will start.
Yeah, and I don't know, and that's why I'm starting to think that maybe this is the end of the run for Klay Thompson with Joe Lacob. The other thing I was thinking about, and you've talked a lot about this, you've kind of been all over it, and it's the idea that Joe Lacob paid Draymond Green last year, paid him $100 million. So I'm thinking to myself, why did Draymond Green drive down to Joe Lacob's house? Like, why? To me, if you put 2 and 2 together, it had to mean that there was doubt.
This is fascinating.
That there was doubt.
You think?
Okay, yeah. Why else would he do it? It is highly unusual for a player to drive down to an owner's house. Joe Lacob mentioned it because it was unusual. So I'm going to take Joe Lacob at his word. So that tells me that there may have been doubt about that contract. And yes, maybe it means that Draymond had to sell Joe Lacob on that contract. And that's where I'm at. That's why I continue to focus on the most important person in that organization right now, and it's Joe Lacob. And if Joe Lacob gave Draymond Green a $100 million contract last year, and he thinks that Draymond did not live up to it, then he's going to try to move Draymond Green. I don't know if he can, but the more I think about the report by Zach Lowe, where did that come from on Thursday? A report in ESPN. Zach Lowe saying the Warriors are growing tired of Draymond Green's volatility.
Would you stop there real quick? Does that surprise you?
No.
Me neither.
Okay. Well, but why wasn't that story written a year ago? Why wasn't that story written 4 months ago? The story was written now, and to me it has to be written now because the Warriors are letting the word out that they're getting tired of Draymond.
You could be
They
right.
are getting tired of Draymond. And that's another player I'm looking at. Would they really try to move Draymond Green? I mean, when I
might be onto something.
When I look at Joe Lacob, I look at a guy who's more likely who's less likely to run it back than to try to do something bold.